Hi, my name's Jake. I love traveling. But there's one big problem. I don't speak English well. When I try to talk, I freeze. My brain stops working. I start translating every word. It's so slow. People get confused. I feel embarrassed. Last year, I missed a flight. I couldn't understand the announcements. I had to ask for help. "Excuse me," I said. "What did they say?" The man answered in English. I didn't understand. My trip was ruined. That's when I made a choice. I needed to change. I wanted to think in English. No more translations, no more fear. But how? It felt impossible. I was scared, but I started. Little by little, I practiced. Now I want to share my story. How I learned to think in English. It's simple. You can do it too. Let's begin. After that trip, I felt stuck. I wanted to speak English. I wanted to feel free. But my brain said no. It was always in my way. I kept thinking in my language. I kept translating every word. Have you ever felt that? You know the words, but they don't come out. It's like your brain freezes. That was me. Every single time. Then I read something online. It said, "Think in English." At first, I laughed. How could I do that? My brain didn't work like that. But the idea stayed with me. It made sense. If I could think in English, I wouldn't need to translate. I decided to try. I started small. I used simple words. I spoke to myself in English. It was hard, but I didn't give up. Soon, I noticed something. My brain felt different. I wasn't as slow. I started to see pictures, not words. English became easier, little by little. Thinking in English changed everything. I stopped feeling scared. I stopped hesitating. Now, I'm here to help you. I'll show you what I did. It's not magic. It's practice. You can do this too. Let me explain. At first, everything felt wrong. I tried to think in English, but it was hard. My mind wanted to switch back. I kept hearing my own language. It was everywhere. In the morning, I'd talk to myself. "Brush your teeth," I'd say. But then I'd stop. Was that right? Did I use the right words? Doubt crept in. I felt stupid. At work, it was worse. My boss asked me a question in English. I knew the answer, but I froze. I couldn't say a word. I just stared at him. I felt so embarrassed. Even at home, it wasn't easy. I wanted to practice, but my family didn't speak English. They laughed when I tried. "Why are you talking like that?" they asked. I thought about giving up. Why try so hard? It felt useless. But deep down, I wanted to improve. I wanted to feel confident. I didn't want fear to control me anymore. One night, I watched a video. The person said, "It's okay to make mistakes." That hit me. I always wanted to be perfect. I didn't want to sound silly, but maybe mistakes were part of learning. The next day, I tried again. I told myself, don't stop. Keep going. I started naming things around me. Chair, table, window. I made it a game. Still, it wasn't enough. I needed more. I needed real situations. I had to push myself, but how? I wasn't sure. I felt stuck, but I knew one thing. I wasn't going to quit. The first step I took was simple. I needed to hear more English, so I found short videos online. They were easy to understand. I watch them every day. At first, I didn't understand much, but I didn't stop. I repeated phrases out loud. Good morning. How are you? Can I help you? I said these lines again and again. It felt silly at first, but then something changed. The words started to feel natural. Next, I made a list. I wrote down common words, things I see every day. Door, car, coffee, phone. I practiced naming them. This is my phone. This is my coffee. It was simple, but it helped. One day, I went to a store. I wanted to try something new. When I saw the cashier, I smiled. Hi, how are you? I said. She smiled back. I'm good, thanks. And you? I froze for a second, but then I answered. I'm good too. It was a small win, but it felt big. I walked out of that store feeling proud. After that, I started practicing more. I talked to myself all the time. What will I eat today? Where will I go? It felt strange at first, but it worked. I started thinking in English without realizing it. One night, I decided to describe my day. I sat down and talked to myself. This morning, I woke up. I made coffee. Then I went to work. My sentences were simple, but I was speaking. The next week, I tried something harder. I imagined a conversation. What would I say if someone asked for directions? I practiced saying, go straight. Turn left. It's near the park. Then came a bigger challenge, ordering food. I went to a coffee shop. I stood in line, feeling nervous. When it was my turn, I smiled and said, Can I have a coffee, please? The cashier nodded. Sure. Anything else? I hesitated, but then I said, No, that's all. Thank you. When I sat down with my coffee, I felt like a champion. I realized something important. Every small step mattered. Every little conversation helped me think in English. It wasn't about being perfect. It was about trying. To make it more fun, I started listening to music in English. I chose songs with easy words. I sang along even if I didn't sound great. It helped me remember phrases. I also wrote notes to myself. Don't forget your keys. Buy milk today. Writing in English made me think in English. Then I tried one more thing. I set my phone to English. It was strange at first, but I got used to it. Words like settings and notifications became part of my daily life. Slowly, my confidence grew. I stopped translating in my head. I didn't need to anymore. Thinking in English started to feel normal. The real test came when I met a tourist. He asked me for help. Where is the bus stop? He said. For a moment, I froze. Then I answered, It's over there near the corner. He smiled and said, Thank you. That moment stayed with me. I helped someone in English. I didn't panic. I didn't translate. I just spoke. From that day on, I knew I could do it. I just needed to keep practicing. I told myself, You're doing great. Keep going. The big moment finally came. My trip to London was here. I felt excited and nervous. Could I really use my English? At the airport, I needed to check in. I walked to the counter. The worker smiled. Hello, can I help you? She asked. Yes, I said. I have a flight to London. She asked for my passport. I handed it to her and waited. Here is your boarding pass, she said. Your gate is C12. Thank you, I replied. That was it, my first real conversation. It was short but felt huge. On the plane, I practiced in my mind. I thought about simple sentences I might use. Where is the train station? How much does this cost? When I arrived, the first thing I did was look for a taxi. I walked to the taxi stand and said, "Excuse me, I need a taxi to my hotel." The driver smiled. "Sure." "Where is it?" I showed him the address. "It's on Baker Street," I said. He nodded, and we drove off. As we rode, he asked, "Is this your first time in London?" "Yes, it is," I answered. "I'm very excited." "You'll love it," he said. "It's a great city." That small talk made me feel proud. I was speaking English. Later, I went to a cafe. I stood in line, thinking about what to say. When it was my turn, I smiled. "Hi, can I have a sandwich and coffee, please?" "Of course," the worker said. "Anything else?" "No, thank you," I replied. It felt natural, like I wasn't even trying. The next day, I explored the city. I visited museums and parks. At one museum, I asked, "Where is the restroom?" The worker pointed and said, "Down the hall to your left." "Thank you," I said, feeling confident. The best part came at a gift shop. I found a small keychain I liked. At the counter, the cashier smiled. "That'll be £5, she said. I handed her the money and said, "Thank you." She replied, "Have a nice day." At that moment, I realized something big. I wasn't just using English. I was living it. I didn't need to translate. I didn't need to think so hard. I walked out of the shop with a big smile. My hard work had paid off. Looking back, I feel proud. Learning to think in English changed everything. At first, it was hard. I struggled to stop translating. But step by step, things got easier. I started small, with simple words. I practiced every day. Talking to myself helped a lot. I used short sentences like, "I need coffee," or "Where's my bag?" Listening to English was key. I watched shows, listened to songs, and repeated what I heard. It wasn't perfect, but I kept trying. When I faced real situations, I learned even faster. At the airport, in the taxi, and at the cafe, I used my English. Each moment gave me more confidence. The best part? I didn't feel afraid anymore. Speaking English felt natural, like I wasn't forcing it. I could enjoy conversations without overthinking. This journey taught me one thing: practice works. It's not about being perfect. It's about trying every day. Now, I challenge you. Start small, just like I did. Speak to yourself. Listen to English. Practice daily. You'll see progress before you know it. Remember, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to start. So, take the first step today. Think in English. Speak in English. Your fluency will grow just like mine did. I believe in you. You've got this. Now it's your turn. Start thinking in English today. Practice simple words and phrases. Talk to yourself every morning. Listen to English everywhere you go. Don't wait for perfection. Just begin. Small steps lead to big changes. Trust me, you can do it. Let's start this journey together.